You constantly feel the need to clarify your intentions because you're terrified of being misunderstood. You explain your tone. You explain your timing. You explain your face. You explain your silence. You pour your energy into words, hoping they will finally get it, and they just stare, blank, cold, almost amused. You were taught that if you just explained well enough, you would be safe. That is the lie that kept you weak, submissive, and easy to control. This ends today. You are about to learn why your silence is more terrifying than your rage, and how to become the person who never apologizes for existing. Here's the part you were never told. Over-explaining isn't communication. Over-explaining is a submission ritual. It's a public performance that says, please don't punish me, please don't exile me, please don't misunderstand me. And the world, especially manipulators, office politicians, emotional predators, doesn't hear your logic. It hears your fear. You live inside modern power dynamics where perception is currency. Status is oxygen, and your words, your long, careful, emotionally intelligent paragraphs are not protecting you. They are exposing you. They are turning your mind into an open book for people who only read to steal. Stop. Ask yourself, when was the last time explaining actually worked? You think you're earning understanding. You're actually donating leverage. And the moment you stop explaining, you stop being a defendant in other people's court. You become the judge of your own life. You become dangerous, not because you attack, but because you cannot be interrogated. By the end of this video, you will have a Machiavellian strategy for weaponized detachment, a manipulation defense system that turns silence into social dominance. It turns guilty into untouchable, and turns your hidden self, your coldness, your refusal, your strategic thinking into a psychological warfare advantage. If these ideas resonate with you, hit that subscribe button for more top-tier content. Also, drop a "say nothing" in the comments so I know you're ready. Let's dive in. You don't over-explain because you love clarity. You over-explain because you were trained to plead. You learned, slowly, painfully, through tiny humiliations, that misunderstanding feels like danger. You learned that if someone looks disappointed, you must rush in with a defense. You learned that if someone questions you, you must provide evidence. You learned that if someone misreads you, you must fix it immediately, because somewhere in your nervous system, being misjudged equals being abandoned. So you became impressive at it. You became articulate under pressure. You became calm while they accused you. You became emotionally intelligent while they stayed emotionally careless. You became the person who can explain anything, even your right to exist. And what did that earn you? It earned you the role of safe target, the role of easy to corner, the role of always available for cross-examination. They aren't listening to your logic, they are measuring your submission. In dark psychology, the over-explainer is predictable. In psychological warfare, predictability is death. Because if they can predict you, they can steer you. If they can steer you, they can harvest you. Your time, your resources, your emotional labor, your attention, your status. You know this pattern too well. You get accused of something you didn't do. You panic, not outwardly, but inside. You start constructing the perfect explanation. You draft it in your head. You rehearse it. You add context. You add disclaimers. You add empathy for the person attacking you. You add softness so they don't feel threatened. And then you deliver it. And then they smirk, because your explanation did not make you look innocent. It made you look controllable. Stop. Breathe. Look at the actual power dynamic. The person who feels entitled to interrogate you already believes they're above you. Your explanation doesn't correct that belief. It confirms it. This is why being reasonable keeps failing you. You're trying to win a court case that doesn't exist. You're trying to prove innocence to a jury that doesn't respect you. And here's what hurts the most. You know you're smarter than them. You know your intentions are clean. You know your logic is airtight, yet somehow the less competent person wins because they aren't playing the truth game. They're playing the status game. You were taught to speak to be understood. They speak to be obeyed. Pattern interrupt. You think you're being nice. You're actually being boring. Because the over-explainer broadcasts one thing: I need you to approve of me. And need is the scent of blood in social dominance hierarchies. Now hold on. This isn't telling you to become a liar. This is manipulation defense. This is Machiavellian strategy to stop handing your enemy the map of your inner world. And if you stay with me, you'll see the real betrayal. It wasn't just that they judged you. It's that they trained you to correct their judgment like a servant correcting a master. But simply being quiet isn't enough. You must master the active void technique coming up, because most people try silence and still look weak. They go quiet like a punished child. You're going quiet like a sovereign. Your words are ammunition, and you are handing them to your executioner. Let that land. Every time you explain, you reveal priorities, you reveal fears, you reveal motives, you reveal the buttons they can press next time. You reveal what makes you feel guilty, what makes you feel responsible, what makes you scramble. In dark psychology, the manipulator is not hunting your truth. They're hunting your reaction. They accuse you not to know the facts, but to see if you flinch. They question you not to learn, but to position you beneath them. They misunderstand you on purpose, because watching you over-explain gives them a thrill. It proves they can move you like a puppet. This is psychological warfare, not fists, not weapons, signals. Who speaks first? Who defends? Who needs closure? Who needs to be liked? Who needs to be seen as good? And you were the perfect supply. You were the one who writes the long message. You were the one who circles back. You were the one who sends the follow-up clarification. You were the one who apologizes for a tone you didn't even have. You were the one who says, "I'm sorry if you felt," even when they attacked you first. And then you wonder why you feel exhausted. The reason you feel exhausted is hidden in this next psychological principle. Explaining is resource leakage. Your attention is a strategic resource. Your energy is a strategic resource. Your time is a strategic resource. And you've been spending it like a desperate person trying to buy safety. Stop. Ask yourself, when was the last time explaining actually worked? Be honest. It might have worked with a healthy person once. It might have worked in a normal conversation. But in the environments that shaped your wound, work politics, emotionally immature families, manipulative relationships, status-obsessed circles, explaining didn't work. It made you smaller. Because you're not dealing with misunderstanding. You're dealing with power dynamics. And when you explain to someone committed to misunderstanding you, you become their entertainment. Pattern interrupt. Machiavelli didn't say be evil. He said be effective. You are being neither. Effectiveness means you stop trying to convert predators into judges. You stop trying to make the unfair fair. You stop trying to make the irrational rational. This is where your emotional intelligence gets weaponized against you. You're perceptive. You can see their insecurities. You can predict their feelings. So you try to manage them with words, but that management becomes your prison. You start living as if everyone else's interpretation is your responsibility. You start preemptively defending yourself. You start forecasting accusations before they even happen. And you shrink. Most people fail at this stage because they confuse silence with sulking. They go silent and hope the other person realizes. That's still seeking approval. That's still begging for understanding. Your goal isn't to be understood by everyone. Your goal is to be uninterrogatable. You are about to learn how to replace explanation with presence, how to replace verbal defense with strategic silence that forces others to adjust to you. And before we discuss the tactical application, you must kill this one specific hope, the hope that the right explanation will finally make them respect you. It won't. Respect is not created by your clarity. Respect is created by your standards. And standards are enforced by what you refuse to do, especially what you refuse to say. You were programmed, not by one person, by a system that rewards compliance, punishes ambiguity, and labels boundaries as attitude. You were rewarded for being easy, for being agreeable, for being understandable, for being accessible, for being emotionally available, for answering questions quickly, for clarifying, for smoothing tension. You were trained like a customer service representative for other people's emotions. And the system loved you for it. Schools love the over-explainer because you ask permission before you act. Jobs love the over-explainer because you accept blame to preserve harmony. Families love the over-explainer because you carry guilt that isn't yours. Toxic partners love the over-explainer because you'll argue yourself into submission. This is not morality. This is control. This is why be a good person became be a predictable person. In Machiavellian strategy, the worst position you can occupy is the position of the transparent target, someone everyone can read, everyone can interrogate, everyone can emotionally audit. Because if they can read you, they can manage you. Stop. Ask yourself, who benefits when you constantly explain yourself? Not you. They benefit. They benefit because your explanation makes them the authority. Your explanation makes them the evaluator. Your explanation makes them the one who gets to decide whether you're acceptable. And the moment you accept their right to evaluate you, you've already lost the negotiation. This next law is controversial, but it explains why your boss ignores you, why certain friends disrespect you, why certain people feel entitled to question you. The person who explains is the person who asks for a verdict. When you speak like a defendant, you will be treated like one. They might still smile. They might still like you. They might still invite you. They might still take your work, your ideas, your favors, but they will not fear losing you because you keep proving you'll come back with a paragraph. Pattern interrupt. They aren't listening to your logic. They are measuring your submission. Now here's the betrayal you don't want to admit. Some of the people who demanded your explanations didn't misunderstand you. They understood you perfectly. They just wanted to watch you lower yourself. They wanted to watch you scramble. They wanted to watch you invest. They wanted to watch you care more than they care. They wanted to watch you trade dignity for peace. That's why they ask questions that aren't questions. They're traps. Why did you do that? Means justify your autonomy. What did you mean by that? Means surrender your power. Are you upset? Means give me access to your inner world. So what's going on with you lately? Means confess. This is dark psychology in everyday language. And in psychological warfare, the first rule is simple. Do not volunteer intel. Your silence doesn't make you weak. It makes you opaque. And opacity creates fear. Because people fear what they cannot read. People fear what they cannot predict. People fear what they cannot control. If you only remember one thing from this video, make it this next rule. Your silence must be intentional, not emotional, not avoidance, not sulking, not passive aggression, strategic thinking. Because the sovereign is not mute. The sovereign is selective. Now we're going to answer your forbidden question. The one that keeps you trapped in explanation addiction. If I don't explain myself, won't they think I'm guilty? Yes, let them. Their confusion is your cover. And when you finally feel what that does to power dynamics, you'll understand why say nothing is not empty. It's loaded. Here is the tactical advantage your emotionally reactive competitors will never have. The active void. Silence isn't the absence of communication. Silence is communication without permission, Most people use silence like a retreat. You will use silence like a forward move in chess. The active void is a three-part weapon. First, you withdraw explanation. Second, you hold presence. Third, you force the other person to fill the emptiness with their own assumptions. And those assumptions expose them. Silence isn't empty. It's full of answers they are afraid to hear. Now watch how this transforms your social dominance in real time. Scenario 1. Your co-worker subtly accuses you. Interesting, you didn't include me. Old you launches into a defense. No, I did, because also last time. Sovereign you. You look at them. Calm. Slow. Then, noted. And you return to your work. Noted. You didn't deny. You didn't justify. You didn't confess. You didn't argue their frame. You just acknowledged the sound they made and refused the trial. Scenario 2. A partner pushes for a confession. Why are you being distant? Old you. I'm not, it's just I've been stressed and I didn't want you to think. Sovereign you. I'm taking space. Full stop. No explanation. No apology. No emotional essay. Scenario 3. A friend tests you. So what's your problem with me? Old you. I don't have a problem. I just felt like maybe you didn't mean it. Sovereign you. I'm not doing this. Silence. This is manipulation defense. This is power dynamics mastery. This is emotional intelligence with teeth. Because emotional intelligence without boundaries is just being readable. And being readable is being farmed. Stop. Ask yourself, when was the last time explaining actually worked? Now the fear rises in you here. The old program starts screaming, if I don't explain, they'll assume the worst. Good. Let them assume. You are not responsible for the fantasies of people who benefit from your self-doubt. And here's the Machiavellian twist. The assumption that you're guilty is not a disaster. It's a filter. It reveals who is invested in controlling you. Healthy people ask to understand. Manipulative people ask to dominate. Office politicians ask to collect ammo. Emotional vampires ask to feed. When you stop explaining, the healthy ones adjust. The predators escalate. And that escalation is proof you were never dealing with misunderstanding. You were dealing with control. Machiavelli warned about this exact trap in The Prince. Most people don't judge your soul. They judge your appearance and your usefulness. You don't win by pleading. You win by positioning. So you position yourself as someone whose inner world is private property. Pattern interrupt. Your words are ammunition, and you are handing them to your executioner. You stop. You lock the ammo box. Now, this is where most people ruin it. They go silent, but their body begs. Their face apologizes. Their posture collapses. Their eyes ask, are we okay? That is not the active void. That is silent begging. Your silence must be supported by posture, pace, and presence. You speak slower. You move slower. You answer less. You don't rush. You don't over-smile. You don't over-nod. You become hard to rush. And that's why you become dangerous. Because in psychological warfare, tempo is power. Whoever controls the tempo controls the frame. Coming up, the 4 laws of weaponized silence, exact phrases to use, what to never say, and how to make people respect you without ever getting closure. But first, you must understand the secret. Silence is not what you do when you have nothing to say. Silence is what you do when you have too much power to waste on the wrong audience. This is the part that changes your life if you implement it instead of admiring it. You want social dominance? You want high-value behavior? You want to stop being the defendant? You follow these 4 laws. Law 1. Do not defend your intentions. State your decision. Your intentions are soft. Your decisions are steel. Intentions invite debate. Decisions end debate. Old you. I didn't mean it like that. I was just trying to... Sovereign you. That's what I'm doing. You don't argue about your motives. You announce your action. This is Machiavellian strategy in modern language. Control the frame by refusing their frame. Law 2. Replace explanations with boundaries. Explanations negotiate your worth. Boundaries declare your worth. Old you, I can't tonight because I've been overwhelmed and I really need to. Sovereign you, I'm not available. That's it. And if they push, you repeat it once. Calm, same tone, same words, no new information, because every new detail becomes a handle. Stop. Ask yourself, when was the last time explaining actually worked? Law 3. Never answer an accusation with a paragraph. Accusations are bait, paragraphs are bites. If they say, you're acting weird, you don't write a thesis. You say, okay, or if you say so, or I hear you. And then you stop. Pattern interrupt. They aren't listening to your logic. They are measuring your submission. This is manipulation defense at its cleanest. You don't fight the accusation, you remove the oxygen. Now, a warning. Okay can be submissive if your voice is fragile. It can be sovereign if your voice is neutral. Neutral is a weapon. Neutral is emotional detachment. Neutral is psychological warfare without aggression. Law 4. Let them sit with the uncertainty. This is the one your old self cannot tolerate, because your old self mistakes tension for danger. But tension is leverage. Uncertainty forces people to reveal themselves. When you stop explaining, they start talking. They start filling space. They start escalating. They start confessing their agenda. They show you their hunger. And you finally see what's been happening. You've been doing all the emotional labor of keeping everyone comfortable, while they did the strategic labor of testing how far they can push you. You stop. You let the silence do the work. Silence forces a reckoning. Either they respect you or they expose themselves. Now let's integrate one more level, the part that turns you from quiet into unreadable. Because being quiet isn't the goal. Being unreadable is the goal. This is where your shadow trait comes in. Coldness. Not cruelty, not hostility. Coldness as temperature control. Coldness as non-availability. Coldness as the refusal to perform innocence. You were taught that warmth makes you safe. But in power dynamics, warmth without limits makes you usable. So you learn to become warm by choice, not by compulsion. You learn to become kind strategically, not automatically. And this is where people start calling you different. They feel the shift. They can't interrogate you the way they used to. They can't corner you with, what did you mean? They can't guilt you into a confession. They can't farm you for reassurance, because you no longer explain your humanity. You embody it. Retention hook. Once you master this, you will never fear a confrontation again, because confrontation requires two participants. The sovereign doesn't always participate. Now we're going to make it practical. Tomorrow morning, practical. Exact scripts, exact timings, exactly when to go silent and when to speak, just enough to end it. And one more thing. We're going to address the biggest fear you have. What if silence makes you look guilty? You already know the answer. Let them. Their confusion is your cover. Now let's weaponize it. Stop for a moment and calculate the energy you waste on being clear to people who enjoy misunderstanding you. That energy is your life. Your over-explaining doesn't just drain you emotionally, it drains you strategically. It makes you available. It makes you predictable. It makes you easy to manage in social dominance hierarchies. So here are the scripts. The minimal words that end the interrogation. When they demand justification, you. I'm not explaining this. Silence. When they fish for emotion, you. I'm good. Silence. When they try to reframe you, you. You can see it that way. Silence. When they accuse you of intent, you. That's your interpretation. Silence. When they corner you with why, you. Because I decided. Silence. When they demand reassurance, you. I'm not available for that conversation. Silence. Now, do you feel the panic? Good. That panic is withdrawal. You're detoxing from approval addiction, and your mind will immediately try to sabotage you with morality. It will say, "Isn't this manipulative?" No, it's manipulation defense. Your previous behavior was the real manipulation, self-manipulation. You were manipulating yourself into servitude so other people wouldn't disapprove. That's not virtue. That's fear wearing a halo. Pattern interrupt. You think you're being nice. You're actually being boring. Because nice in the wrong environment is just a signal that you can be pushed. Now, let's handle the forbidden question cleanly, so it never controls you again. If I don't explain myself, won't they think I'm guilty? Let them. Here's why. First, people who assume guilt without evidence are not judges. They're predators. Their suspicion is a tool, not a belief. They use suspicion to make you talk. Second, guilt is not always a disadvantage in power dynamics. Sometimes guilty reads as capable. Sometimes guilty reads as not seeking approval. Sometimes guilty reads as I did it and I'd do it again, even if you didn't. Ambiguity creates gravity. Third, when you try to look innocent, you look afraid. When you look afraid, you look controllable. When you look controllable, you become a target. Your goal is not to look innocent. Your goal is to look untouchable. And untouchable people are not fully understood. They are respected at a distance. Now, this is where emotional intelligence becomes lethal. You will know exactly when to speak and exactly when to withdraw. You will speak when there's a contract, when there's mutual respect, when there's clear incentive alignment. You will withdraw when there's interrogation, when there's disrespect, when there's manipulation, when there's power plays. Because your attention is not community property. You do not owe access, you do not owe clarity to the careless, you do not owe reassurance to the entitled, you do not owe explanations to people who haven't earned intimacy. This is Machiavellian strategy applied to everyday life. Selective transparency. This is also the essence of Robert Greene's work. Yes, the 48 Laws of Power. Though most people read it like entertainment, you will use it like armor. And if you've ever resonated with the Sigma male archetype, not as a meme, but as an instinct, this is the real foundation. Not swagger, not arrogance, restraint, opaqueness, strategic silence. Now, one more retention hook before we close. There's a final layer most people miss. The reason your silence becomes truly terrifying isn't because it's quiet. It's because it forces other people to face themselves. When you stop explaining, their fantasies collapse. They can't place you, they can't categorize you, they can't label you nice, they can't label you villain, they can't pin you down. And when they can't pin you down, they can't control you. This is psychological warfare at the highest level. You become a moving shadow, not hiding, refusing to be owned. Now, your initiation is simple, but it's not easy, and it will change how people treat you within days. Ready? You started as the defendant, living in a world where every raised eyebrow felt like a courtroom. You started as the over-explainer, trying to purchase safety with words, trying to buy respect with clarity, trying to survive by being understandable. You were judged. You explained to feel safe. They used your words against you, and that anger you feel, it's not ugliness. It's intelligence waking up. It wasn't your fault you learned this. You adapted, you survived. You learned to speak in a way that reduced punishment. But you're not trapped there anymore. Now you have permission to stop talking. Now you have a weapon, weaponized detachment. You now understand dark psychology well enough to see the trap in real time. You now see the power dynamics under the conversation. You now see how psychological warfare happens in polite language. You now know that clarifying is often just kneeling with vocabulary. And now you replace that with something colder, cleaner, higher status. Silence as social dominance. Silence as manipulation defense. Silence as Machiavellian strategy. Silence as emotional intelligence because you control yourself, not the room. Here's your final challenge. Go 24 hours without justifying a single action. Not one. No, because. No, I just. No, I didn't mean. No, let me explain. You will feel the itch. You will feel the panic. You will feel the old program demand you return to the familiar cage, and you will not. Because kings do not explain. Now comment, silence is power, if you're done being interrogated in your own life. If you're done begging to be understood by people committed to misreading you. And subscribe if you're ready to become part of an elite alliance of silent strategists, people who study power dynamics, dark psychology, and Machiavellian strategy not to harm, but to stop being farmed by the careless and the cruel. This is where you sharpen manipulation defense, emotional intelligence, strategic thinking, and social dominance until your presence speaks louder than your mouth ever did. Now that you are silent, you must learn to be invisible, because the next level isn't just refusing to explain. It's moving through rooms without giving predators anything to grab. So don't click away. The on-screen video matters more than you think. Trust me, you don't want to miss it. I'll see you there. See what others miss, know what others fear, become who others can't.